Hello and welcome to Camp Kaiju Monster Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Vincent Hannum
and Matt Levine.
And we're talking about all our favorite monster movies, the good, the bad, and the downright campy, and asking if they stand the test of time.
Traditional kaiju, creature features, space invaders, the supernatural, and everything in between. All strange beasts are welcome here.
Links to our Patreon, our website, and soon all the contact info for our special guest waiting in the wings. But listeners, we're going to keep you in suspense just a little bit longer. We have to thank our patrons, Jason, Chris, Shawn, our anonymous patron, and Peggy. Your support allows all this good, fun, extra bonus interview episodes possible. So thank you.
I would say nobody has anything to fear from us. But we are going to control you now. It is the same spaceship you saw near the moon. That should convince you we do not come from your world. We are here to make you our slaves.
From the laboratories and arsenals of all civilized nations, the most powerful, the newest, the most devastating of weapons blast into action in their effort to destroy all monsters.
Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for tonight's conversation.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, I feel like tonight's conversation gives us a chance to just totally nerd out about kaiju movies, which is always a great thing. So excited.
Yeah, I will let Shawn talk all about his book, but I just do want to give a brief introduction to Kaiju Unleashed, an illustrated guide to the world of strange beasts. This is a celebration of the world of monster movies and beasts, and a complete reference guide to strange creatures in film and how they came to be. So it is a fantastic book, great reference book. I already have a copy on my desk, and I can't put this down. We're going to nerd out here, like you said, Matt, for the next hour or so.
Yeah, Shawn Pryor, the author of Kaiju Unleashed. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Shawn. We're so excited to talk about this book.
Woo. Vincent, Matt, thank you for having me. I'm excited too. Anytime we get to talk about kaiju monster films and the bizarre is always a good time. So thank you both.
Totally. Shawn, if you're able, would you be able to just kind of talk about your background a little bit and like what led you into kaiju movies?
Yeah. Like my background is I've been writing for 17 years. The last 5 years being the most productive. My focus in the beginning was working in the comic book market as not only a writer, an editor. I was also part of a comic book publishing company for a decent amount of time. And then around probably like a little bit before COVID in 2020. So like 2019, that's when I started to make the shift from just being in the comic book market to opening myself to the world of the book market. And, then that opened up all these different kind of doors to writing all different kinds of things. Like my writing career now, it's like anywhere from graphic novels, kids prose, kids literature, YA books, historical books, historical graphic novels, high-low reader books, like everything, like everything across the sun. And so I'm proud to have like a very diverse palette of books out here for everyone. for kids at heart. And with Kaiju Unleashed, this is the first ever kind of book that I've been able to dedicate to a subject that I truly and purely adore. I love kaiju. So I enjoy them and the monster films, all that stuff. As a child, like I think I was either between 4 or 5 years old. Saturday night, it was the summer, so if it's Saturday night during the summer, that means you get to stay up late. And where we live, and where we lived, like my mom would like, like stay up and watch the late movie and stuff like that. And so like you would have like, your creature feature hosts akin to the Svengoolie and stuff like that, but there are all kind of hosts doing that stuff like on these regular television channels that weren't CBS or ABC or NBC. Because at the time there's only 3 networks. But then you had like all these, I feel like all these just different, just standalone independent channels. So one night I was just like, well, I'm tired. I'm just going to go to bed. It's like 11:45 and I'm walking up the steps to go to bed. And that's when I hear the Godzilla roar for the very first time.
Oh,
and because my mom was just flipping channels, she was just turning the knob and she found something. She's like, she found Godzilla. And she's like, oh, okay, watch this. And I heard that noise and like I ran right back downstairs. And then like I see like, all these like monsters on screen, and it was and like it went straight to commercial, and I was like, oh no. And they're like, we'll be back with Destroy All Monsters. And I was just like, Mom, can I stay up and watch this? She was like, yeah, come on. And we stayed up and we watched the rest of it together. That's the first time I ever saw Godzilla.
wow.
And like, but at the same time, I got to see all these other different kaiju, and it got me so excited. Like the next day, like I'm in the dining room, just like drawing up kaiju and coloring and everything, just having the time of my life. And so like that became a thing for like me and my mom. Because and I've said this on like other interviews too. Like I jokingly blame my mom for this, like, addiction to science fiction, kaiju, comic books, collectibles, movies, cartoons. Like I think sometimes she loves that stuff more than I do, but like I'm thankful for her. I'm thankful for those moments. But that's what got me started into kaiju. And then, like I would always just check the TV guide. I remember for years I would just check the TV guide every single week, and just to see, is there a Godzilla movie? Is there another creature feature on? Like, is there something that that can give me that fix?
Yeah.
Because this was a time where VHS was still still a relatively new thing, and like you didn't have access to everything. And so so sometimes you just tape the movies so at least you have something, so you at least have something. And so but now you look at it now, like there's way more access, way more accessibility, especially for like the young kids. I mean, I think we're at a place now where like I was at a book festival, and there's a little kid that saw the book, and like he's talking about like the Toho's Frankenstein movies, like Frankenstein versus Baragon. And like I literally just took off my glasses and I said, "Excuse me?" I was like, "How old are you?" He was like, "I'm 10, sir." And I was like, "You know what? I was like, that's incredible. I like the fact that about Frankenstein versus Baragon at the age of 10. I was like, that's wild. Like, I didn't know those movies. I didn't know those two Frankenstein movies didn't exist until probably a decade ago.
100%.
Yeah.
Like it's wild.
Well, no, I mean, like you can be an expert at age 10 nowadays, I mean, as we were kind of talking about when we first started recording, like there are some bad things about streaming and like easy access and all that. But like the good thing is, you can become like a passionate fan of these movies as early as you want to. You can just like dive into them and like see how much there is out there, which, I won't say exactly how old I am, but I'm from that same generation where like when I was a kid, it was like, you got to watch it on TV. Otherwise you might not ever see it, or at least like you don't know when you're going to be able to, so it's a brave new world of just being able to see whatever monster movie you want. It's great. There are good and bad things about it, but it's great.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like, there's still access to 1998 Godzilla. So that's thing.
That's the bad part. Yeah.
I would love to hear your opinion on that. So
we could talk about it later if you want to, for sure. For sure. Yes.
a whole episode on Godzilla 98.
Ooh.
That's amazing. So Kaiju Unleashed, what is the book? Could you go more into the details about this book itself, Kaiju
Yeah.
Unleashed,
Yeah.
and all the good things it has to offer?
So yes, Quarto Books, in association with Epic Inc. They wanted to make a book that talks about the world of kaiju, the monsters, the kaiju and the monsters that make up the plethora of these films over like the last like 70 years. So of course, we'll be talking heavily about Godzilla because Godzilla has a metric ton of films, both in Japan and in the United States. So we're talking about King Kong, we're talking about Mothra and Rodan. We're talking about the other Japanese, monster films and kaiju films. We're also talking about films from Daiei Studio, who also they were in the kaiju game, if I recall correctly, with Gammera, and also with Daimajin.
Yeah.
So like they were in the game for a while too, and then you also have other foreign countries that made like creature features or like kaiju type films. Like there's a film called Reptilicus. Reptilicus was featured on one of the like the on the Mystery Science Theater 3000 comeback. They did Reptilicus, and that was the first time I ever saw it. And it wasn't the foreign version; it was the American International Pictures version. So like they went in, they made a couple of little changes, and like so like there's also like Reptilicus would like spit out like this like and this like ooze.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it would kind of like cover the screen. And in the foreign version, Reptilicus doesn't do that at all. Like it doesn't do that at all. But like we have to do something. We have to give it an extra effect to make people think this is frightening. And that is without a doubt one of the worst kaiju films I've ever seen in my entire life. But I appreciate the creative spirit. They get a sticker for the day. Put it on the wall. Put on the refrigerator. You made Reptilicus. Good for you.
Yeah.
But so we talk about the foreign films. We also talk about animated films, animated TV shows. Animated shows, video games, television series, comic books, books, novels, and we briefly mentioned toys. So like we talk about the Sofubi toys, which are like the vinyl toys, come in different sizes, which is also something that has become an immense collector's market, especially for the Sofubi that was made, like I believe, like during the 60s and 70s and 80s. That stuff's worth a lot of money now. Like it is a very like lucrative collector's market. And we also talk about like Hotel Gracery, which is in Japan. And Hotel Gracery, the top of the building, Godzilla's head is over the top of the building.
Oh, yeah.
And like at certain times of the day or night, the eyes glow and like like an atomic breath comes out. and there are special rooms. There's special Godzilla rooms in that hotel. They have Godzilla paraphernalia everywhere, and depending on where you're at, out the window, you can see Godzilla's like eye or his head. So it's really really cool. Yeah, like we also briefly cover Ultraman. I personally felt that Ultraman needed to be in the book because he fights kaiju. He's very well known. Ultraman could have his own book, to be honest with you. Yeah, because there are so many Ultra heroes. There's like over 4 generations of Ultra heroes. But I said, you know what? I want people to be aware at least. So I was able to get that in the book too. So it's very informative. Like we talk about the films. You'll know who the director is. You'll know who the actors are. If there are alternate titles, we'll give them to you.
Yep.
So it's a bunch of fun. It's the most I've ever written within a short window of time. And needless to say, when I was done writing this book, I took a very long nap.
I just want to say, my big takeaway from this book is how comprehensive it is. You do go into all the video games, the comic books, and all the other media beyond just the standalone films. And I think it's easy to forget that because me and Matt, we just focus on the films, but
Yeah.
A media property like Godzilla, he's not the king for nothing. Like he dominates so much. I mean, there are probably fans of these monsters who have never even seen the movies, but they love their sofubi or they love their graphic novel that, you know, Justice League versus Godzilla or whatever.
Yes. Yes. There's like Justice League versus Godzilla. And I believe there's like Justice League versus Kong versus Godzilla. And I'm like, this is wild. I was like, never in my dreams would I ever expect anything like that. Like, but see, the thing is, the reason why they can do that is because, like, the MonsterVerse films, Legendary Pictures produces them. They're distributed through Warner Brothers, so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we have this backdoor relationship. Let's go ahead and do it. Speaking of that, there, back in the '60s, there was a script written for this. It was going to be a Batman versus Godzilla film, or Batman meets Godzilla. Written by the folks who wrote the Batman live action series in the '60s. Toho, I believe they tried to. I believe they signed off on it, but then the studio got cold feet. Yeah, I can't remember the history of this completely, but I want someone to find that script and adapt it into a graphic novel, because I know it had to be one of the most bizarre things ever written for that period of time, because those are two things, like Adam West Batman and '60s Godzilla, and I'm just like, how do you make that work?
Yeah. Like, I feel like in the late 60s, the Godzilla movies were starting to get a little bit more like family friendly, like cartoonish, but still it's a weird combination. Like, I mean, I would love to read that script too, because those sensibilities don't seem to overlap. But that, of course, is like the amazing thing about it. Godzilla seems compatible with like almost everything in a way, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Like, and he's changed so much. The characters like went through so many changes over the decades and over the eras. You go from it being a film about, the dangers of nuclear war and the after effects of nuclear war, to a giant reptile who decides to jump in the air and start blowing his atomic breath and flies backwards. It goes from super serious to super kid friendly, back to serious, back to then here's pure sci-fi action. It's all over the place, but that's really the cool thing. Is that, like, there's a Godzilla for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Godzilla for everyone. King Kong's had a few movies, but nowhere near the magnitude of Godzilla. But you can't really say, well, 1933 King Kong, that's my King Kong. Somebody might say, well, no, Peter Jackson's King Kong is my King Kong. But it's, it's a limited scope.
Totally. Yeah, we watched King Kong Godzilla versus King Ghidorah from '91 on our show a couple of years ago. And I love that movie because it is so science fiction heavy with the time travel aspect. And that's just like an example of, I could talk to anybody and say, oh, you like science fiction? Here's this movie. Or it's like, oh, you like serious dramas? Okay, here's the original.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or any of the new ones coming out too.
Oh yeah. Like, I've mentioned Godzilla Minus One to so many people over these last few months, and like, I just tell them, like, listen, like, yes, Godzilla's in the movie, he's going to destroy a lot of stuff, but it's not the Godzilla you think of from your childhood. And like, once again, we're kind of rolling back to the 1954 Godzilla, where we're talking about the after effects of war, the after effects of nuclear war. People have PTSD. And now, as society is the Japanese society is trying to get their lives together. Oh yeah, here comes a nuclear monster. And it's only here to wreck shop. Yeah. It's only here to wreck shop. What do you do? And so, like, it's something to the extent of, basically, Like in Japan, Godzilla films are about Japan. Even though Godzilla's in the films, those films are normally about Japan. In America, Godzilla films are about Godzilla, or they're seen that way. So like it's two different perspectives. But either or, the films to me are still very entertaining, and and I love the messages that they bring.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally. I would just add to what Vincent said before. One of the things that struck me most about the book is something that I think Vincent and I strive for on our podcast, which is like, certainly there's the love of kaiju movies, the fact that we can't get enough of these movies, but also just the historical, social, and political context. Like the book goes into, kind of like tokusatsu movies and Toho Studios and just some of that context. And I feel like it does it in such a way where it's like so entertaining. It's great for fans of these movies, but also it does provide that kind of context and subtext, which I think is so fascinating for these movies.
From the ocean's unfathomable depths, a gigantic, man-like creature appears. From the fiery depths of the earth comes a prehistoric mastodon of destruction. Never before has the screen known such heart-stopping terror. Starring Nick Adams.
Well, I feel he's very important from a scientific point of view. I'd have to cut off a leg or an arm.
Doctors, I won't let you conduct this test.
Frankenstein, with the strength of 1,000 men. And every man's need for affection that makes him a willing captive.
The chain hurts you.
The new scoop of the century.
Pounding across the motion picture screen comes the most terrifying monster of them all. Gammera, the Invincible. Gammera, the super monster that even the H-bomb cannot destroy. Gammera, the Invincible. Attention everyone! Take cover! Gammera, consuming raw atomic power. Power to destroy entire cities. Open fire! Man's most destructive weapons have no effect on Gammera, the Invincible. The mightiest nuclear weapons ever devised are powerless against Gammera, the Invincible. Is humanity doomed? Will the world be destroyed? The United Nations is called to emergency session in a last desperate effort to save the world.
We have one plan that we think might work. We have discussed Plan Z with the Japanese authorities, and they agree it is the best of our alternative plans. Is that correct, sir?
That is so. Plan Z is hope of the world.
A cast of thousands at the mercy of the most terrifying monster that ever lived. Gammera, the Invincible.
It's a piece of skin, like leather.
From all corners of the earth they gather to study the mystifying frozen fossil, a reptilian tail that grows into a giant of terror.
It's alive! It's loose!
Reptilicus, an annihilating mastodon, immune to all known weapons of warfare, creating chaos such as mankind has never before known.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could just talk about that a little bit, like how you balance your love for these movies with kind of like social criticism, trying to kind of get to like the deeper contexts of these movies as well.
Yes. So like when writing the book, I keep a copy on me at all times. When writing the book, it was a thing of, yeah, like I enjoy all these films, even the ones that aren't really that good. And so, but one thing I try to make sure to do, upon doing the research, is that if I could find a critical review from like a established movie critic, I'm going to put it in here, because the thing is, I could tell you how much I enjoy this film, or I could write and say, the film has its moments, but overall is a good film, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, you add that critical context, and then it just gives it more weight, because you're getting a second opinion, because like there are a lot of films that I love that people don't love, and that's okay. So I think that having that critical aspect, no matter what the film, is important. I mean, like, I'm trying to remember if I could even find a review for Zarkor the Invader, but if I did, and if it was legitimate, I was like, I'm going to put it in here, because we need that additional context, to be able to talk, mention the word tokusatsu, like that was very important, because like I'm also a very big fan of Super Sentai and metal heroes. Like, I know in America we used to have Power Rangers before Hasbro decided to put the kibosh on it. But like Super Sentai has meant a lot to me since the 90s. And so like being able to talk about the meaning of the word tokusatsu, that means special effects, and which then leads us to Eiji Tsuburaya, who does the special effects work on like a lot of the Godzilla films back in the day, which then leads to him having his own studio, which then leads him to creating Ultraman. And so it's kind of like, if you don't get Eiji Tsuburaya making Godzilla or helping to make Godzilla, do you get Ultraman? It's akin to if Ray Harryhausen doesn't see King Kong and says, "Hey, who's the special effects guy?" It says Willis O'Brien. If he didn't see King Kong and see Willis O'Brien's work, do you get the Ray Harryhausen era of film?
You took the words out of my mouth. There's like a lineage here to these movies that they just like, the dominoes are clear and without debate. King Kong was re-released in the early 50s and was a massive success. That coupled with 1954's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, both of those two movies coming out at the same time made the folks at Toho, Tanaka and the rest, realize, I think there's something to this giant monster thing. Let's make our own. And you have Godzilla from those two sources. And then Godzilla, of course, came everything else.
Everything. Sweet Lord. Like, Godzilla introduced so many kaiju into the universe of film. It is ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't know Mothra if it wasn't for Godzilla. I wouldn't know King Ghidorah if it wasn't for Godzilla. I wouldn't know Rodan if it wasn't for Godzilla. Like, even they like, Toho was like, yeah, we like King Kong. Let's bring him over here for, and I'll be honest with you, I absolutely adore the Japanese King Kong. I think it's great. In all of its ridiculousness. And like, yeah, I know the suit's not the greatest in the world, but here's the thing. They took $5 in a dream and gave you a story.
Yeah. Like, it has its charm, I'm not going to lie.
And that's the thing I love most about tokusatsu and kaiju movies, especially the ones from way back when, because it's like, okay, they're creating these special effects as they go. It's akin to George Lucas and the people at Lucasfilm basically creating special effects that never existed for Star Wars. Like, and that ingenuity is just amazing. Like in the building of the suits, especially like the original Godzilla film and like the first couple, when due to like fiscal reasons and sometimes war and other things, they may not have all the supplies they need. So they're like, okay, well, we got a little bit of rubber left, but we don't have enough to make the suit. So hey, we might put some cement in here. Like they had, like they did the best with what they had, And no matter what, you were going to get an entertaining or riveting story. Even sometimes during a period of time where money was super tight at Toho because Japan was going through a fiscal crisis, and they're like, "Well, how much of this footage can we reuse? How much of it can we reuse for a movie?" Yeah, just do that. Yeah. We'll put Son of Godzilla in here, and he'll have an adventure with a child, and it's about bullying. And here's some highlights. Here's some highlights. Like it's the like how televisions used to have the episode where it's just like, hey, remember that time? And then like the screen would like wiggle, and then they would play like an old clip. It's a clip show. Like, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
And so like there's that one Godzilla film where it's about a little boy who befriends the son of Godzilla. I think his name's like Minya. I always mispronounce his name.
Yeah, Minya.
Thank you. And the little boy befriends Minya, and like Minya has a bully. The little boy has a bully. Oh, by the way, here's a clip show. All right, go stand up to your bully. Okay.
But that all, like, even when Toho was like literally making these films with crutches, it took people like Honda to still take it seriously. It was never just a filler to the director or to Tsuburaya. And I think that makes such a difference because a movie like All Monsters Attack, like you're talking about, it could be so forgettable.
Yeah.
But it's not. There is some creative integrity behind it that again makes all the difference.
Oh yeah, of course. And seeing that, like, the thing is that like all those directors cared. Like the studio cared. They legitimately cared. And like it's just the thing is that like, okay, it's just that like for Ishiro Honda, there was a point in time in like the late 60s, early 70s where he's like, listen, this is too silly now.
Yeah.
We need to pull it back. And I'm sure the studio's like, hey, the kids love this. This is how we're making our money right now.
Well, that's what Tsuburaya was all for. He's like, no, Ishiro, the kids love it.
See, and that's what I'm saying. So like, I get it, but I also understand where Ishiro Honda's coming from because of the original message of Godzilla. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I get exactly where he's coming from. So when you get to the Heisei era, you get that blend of the fantastical, the child at heart, and the seriousness of Ishiro Honda, the spirit of Ishiro Honda in all those movies, every last one. And so, and that was for me personally, that was a perfect balance. Like the Heisei era is for me a perfect balance of Godzilla films. None of them connect with each other. Like one connects to Godzilla 1954, another one connects to this. Oh, this is just standalone here. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Like, I don't need a Marvel Cinematic Universe map to figure out where the hell I got to go. Nope, don't have to. Nope, it's just like, hey, there's only one film before this one, guys. You're okay. It's Godzilla. Have a nice day. And it's great. It's great. And that's no shade to Marvel. Don't get me wrong. That's no shade. I'm not saying that like you kick the can for 25 films and then you have a finale. Hey, that's great. I call that television. Anyway, I watched a lot of those movies, and I enjoyed a good amount of them. But like, so like I said, once again, I'm not throwing shade. It's just that this is how my mind works. This is how I analyze.
Totally. Hey, you're preaching to the choir here. Matt Levine has gone off on whole episodes about it.
Oh my.
Indeed, I have. No, you're more polite to Marvel movies than I am. I do like some of them, but you said it very diplomatically. I think you're totally right. And I agree about the Heisei era too. Like Vincent mentioned Godzilla versus King Ghidorah before, which I love. And also Godzilla versus Biollante is just so imaginative and trippy and bizarre and like still part of the Godzilla universe. Like you watch a movie like that, I think you said it perfectly before, Shawn, when you're like, if you have, $1 in a dream, you can make these visions come to life. It's such an experience. Yeah. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Like, especially like if you think about Ultraman, like that's really $5 in a dream. Watch Ultraman, watch Ultra 7, Ultraman Taro, Ultraman, I believe Ace. Like all of that is $5 in a drain.
Stock footage.
Yeah, and sometimes the way like a kaiju like gets killed is brutal, like absolutely brutal. I'm like, because once again, hadn't watched like Ultra 7 is my favorite Ultra hero. Okay, he's my favorite. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do something different. Let me watch some original Ultraman. And so because of the availability, here it is on Pluto TV on to Shout School on the Shout Factory channel. And I'm just watching, and then like, Ultraman does the pose and makes the L shape, and like the beam flies out and the monster just splits in half. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. It's so like, but it's still at the same time, it's cool because they did the best with what they had. And but I love it. Yeah, I know that's a dude in a suit. I don't care. I think it's great.
It looks awesome. You can't,
Yes.
It's what they do with it.
Yes.
I showed Destroy All Monsters to my nieces and nephew. It was the first Godzilla movie they'd ever seen. They're all between 5 and 7 years old.
Yeah.
They bounced off the walls. They couldn't get enough of the final showdown on Mount Fuji.
Mm-hmm.
It was so awesome. So gratifying for me as an uncle to be like, here, let me introduce this world to you.
Yes, it's the best. I have a friend, and like he built his own Plex media server, so he has tons of movies on it, and like he introduced his son to Godzilla, and they watched like a film like every single day, and now like his son loves Jet Jaguar, and is always asking, "Where's more Jet Jaguar? Where's Jet Jaguar?" And what cracks me up is Jet Jaguar has basically, would now compared to all the other films that have been out there, it's essentially a cameo. Like, because here I am thinking, I thought like, because I thought that like that film, the Godzilla film that he's in it for a little bit. It feels like a cameo, but like as a child, that's the greatest thing on the face of the earth. You want to see him again, you're not going to see him.
Yeah, I will say like Toho has a bad habit of only reusing the same 5 or 6 monsters, and like I want to see more Jet Jaguar, Baragon, bring in the Gargantuas and the Frankenstein. Like there's so many you could pull in. Toho.
Still, it cracks me up. They're like, because like in the book we have this thing called Kaiju Facts. So like in some parts of the book you get like a little sidebar, and we'll put a fact about either a film or a director or what have you. The 2 Frankenstein Toho movies are Guillermo del Toro's favorite kaiju film.
There you go.
That is wild.
And I think Guillermo del Toro made one of the best kaiju films. I don't know if you all disagree with that, but I think Pacific Rim is a fantastic example of the genre.
Oh yeah, Pacific Rim is great. Like that is legitimately a live action anime.
Yeah.
Like I love everything about that film. Like and like for me, Idris Elba's Stacker Pentecost is one of the coolest things on screen. When when Charlie Hunnam's character put his hands on him, he was like, "One, don't you ever put your hands on me." And then he does a speech and we are stopping the apocalypse and all that stuff. Like it's just good. The designs are fantastic. The Jaegers look cool, and the kaiju look cool, and they all like the way that everything is put together. Like it has meaning to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like personality. That's the word I'm looking for. Personality. The Jaegers have personality. The kaiju have personality. And, and so like, it's not empty at all. I love everything about that. The sequel, I understand. I get it. I'm a big John Boyega fan. So I was like, I'm in it for him. But I'm like, and I've said this on other podcasts. Hopefully Clint Eastwood and his son won't come get me. But yo, man, y'all gotta stop putting Scott Eastwood in movies, man. You gotta stop. Because if there's anybody else besides Scott Eastwood next to John Boyega, it's a better movie. Like I'd rather watch paint dry than see that man act. I can't do it. I just can't. I'm sorry, Mr. E. Please don't come.
I gotta watch that again and take note of what you're talking about.
Yeah, man, I can't deal with him, dog. Like I can't. Like everything else about the movie, I'm kind of cool with. Like I don't. There was some there was a character or two that got offed that like I didn't care for, which I was kind of disappointed with. But and I won't spoil that. But yeah, like my biggest difficulty of that film is Scott Eastwood. Like I am not a pro AI person, but like if anybody wants to use AI and replace Scott Eastwood with another actor, I won't say anything. It's okay.
I would support that. I'm fully behind that for sure.
Scott Eastwood.
That's definitely a tangent, but I love it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm the number one Scott Eastwood haters fan. So I apologize for the tangent.
Godzilla and Gammera.
Behemoth. Goliath. King Kong escapes and meets his greatest foe, the Kong of Steel. A gargantuan duel, unmatched by any battle in history. Thundering 60-foot robot Kong of Steel, creation of the evil Doctor Who, criminal genius who stops at nothing. Kong, once again, dig! King Kong shakes the earth. King Kong fights for life against the copter squadron. Thrills as King Kong battles the Serpent of Mondo Island.
I was going to ask you, you brought up Ultraman, and it reminded me of two of my favorite recent kaiju movies, Shin Ultraman and Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla is from 2016. I think Shin Ultraman is from like 2 years ago. It's pretty recent. I love both those movies so much, and I'm not trying to... everybody loves Godzilla Minus One. It's great. I totally get that. I prefer Shin Godzilla personally, so I'm curious how you feel about those movies.
Shin Ultraman, I got the chance to watch the whole film last year as I was writing the book. One day it was on YouTube, and I was like, "Is this legally on YouTube or illegally on YouTube?" I'll just watch it. And I didn't move. I didn't leave my seat once.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to use the bathroom. No, it's okay. And like, I love that film. And there's some parts where it is ridiculous, where it's absolutely positively ridiculous. But I find that film to be one of my favorite of the Shin series. Shin Godzilla, I'll be the first to admit, it took me a while to get it. Because here I am used to the Showa era, the Heisei era, and the Millennium era. Okay, like that's where my brain is at when you say Godzilla. So when you see Shin Godzilla, like it's more of a like parasitic creature than like, oh, here's this nuclear lizard. You know what I mean? And so like the metamorphosis of that, it took a while for me to like accept. But then when he pops his jaw open and it splits and he does the atomic blast, I'm like, oh yeah, that's freaking awesome. Yeah.
You're like,
I'm on board. Yeah,
that's good.
Yes, exactly. Golf clap.
Yeah. All hail the big G.
Yes. So like I have a lot more. I have a better understanding of Shin Godzilla now than I did when it first came out. But Shin Ultraman is still my favorite. I am captivated by that film. Absolutely.
I'm so happy to hear that. Vincent and I saw that together in theaters when it came out, and I was blown away. There's so much creativity. Like I could not take my eyes off the screen. It's great.
See, that's so cool. You got to see it in the theater. My wife took me as a surprise. My wife took me to go see Shin Kamen Rider. Okay? We get to the movie theater, and like the movie theater's running with the skeleton crew. Half of them don't even know what they're doing. We go into the movie theater. They start playing The Little Mermaid.
Oh no!
How is that even possible?
And I was like, they'll change it. They'll fix it. Wait 5 minutes. Little Mermaid comes back on. I said, honey, let's just go. Let's just go home.
That's tragic.
Yeah, I was immensely disappointed. I know it's on Amazon Prime as a Shin Masked Rider, which is kind of funny seeing how. Never mind. I won't get into that tangent. I'm gonna be good.
Well, I'll tell you real quick. Matt and I and some other friends, we went to see Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, and halfway through the movie, the audio in the theater just cuts out, and then we're all just sitting there for like 10 minutes watching the movie, but with no sound. And it was like, okay, can we fix this? Are we not a professional movie theater? Like,
right. Who turned off the amp?
It's right. Just hit play. I don't know. Like, turn your mic back on. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. No, that's the worst. That is the absolute worst. Like I spent all this money to come watch this movie.
Yeah.
And we're having problems. No, we can't have problems. I spent too much. Do you know how much this popcorn costs? You know how much this medium Coke costs? Like I have to drink all this medium Coke. There's enough Coke in here to kill a horse. Like, but I gotta finish it for what I paid. I need you to fix the sound.
And people complain about like the good old days of celluloid and like, oh, it's out of focus. Maybe the film like jams or burns or whatever. Like, I don't know. Those were the good old days. It's hard not to feel that way,
Yeah, like I do. I will admit, like I miss like one thing I miss about celluloid. Because like as a kid and even as an adult, like there's certain particulars, if it catches my eye, like I'll remember it time and time again. And even as a child, and this started with Return of the Jedi. Like I was watching the movie and then like I just see this blip in like the lower right hand corner. This little circle comes and goes real quick. And I was like, what is that? So like every movie after that, I would just watch for that constantly. Yeah. And then in my 20s, they're like, oh yeah, films have multiple reels. And you get that blip, that means that one reel's ending. We're starting the next. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And like that stuff, like once again, I miss that, like, because now everything's digital and there's digital projection, but like we also have digital filmmakers, and I think democratizing the technology is good because it gives people opportunities to make things, and which is awesome. Creativity is very important. The arts are extremely important. But the one thing that I miss, like celluloid has like a warmness to it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like also with lighting, sometimes lack thereof, like there's just this quality to film. Whereas with digital, what I've noticed is that a lot of filmmakers have struggled with lighting and color coding.
Totally. Yeah.
And so, and like, you know, like, no, yeah, I know I haven't been behind a camera. I haven't made like, 10 movies or anything like that. But it's just something that like I've noticed, like I understand why Christopher Nolan's like, yeah, man, I'm filming this in film. And then we could put it to digital, but I have actual film.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Like I more than get it. But there are some people that do film digitally that make beautiful works. So, because they understand the lighting. They they understand the color coding. Like they get it. And so like, it can happen. But it's going to take time. And I think that's something else that like in this digital era that we have to realize is that in order to get to that certain quality, it's going to have to take time because we're going to have to get through all these mistakes.
Yeah. Kind of just all about using the form like expressively, to like get across what you want to get across. You could do that with digital or celluloid, but like you have to understand the form of the medium. So yeah.
Through.
I love that conversation. The technical side of filmmaking is something I'm working on understanding more. But regardless, even as a casual fan who grew up watching film stock, it's just like it's an intangible that you can notice. And I like watching one of my old VHS tapes sometimes. I pop that in the VCR, even though I have Jaws on Blu-ray. Jaws on tape just feels cozier. I don't know how else to put it.
No, I get it. Like I still have like, okay, like as a child, I taped so much stuff on VHS. I mean, like so much stuff. And from childhood through my early 30s, I kept all my VHS tapes with me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So like, imagine 10 nice sized bins full of nothing but VHS tapes. Now, some were films that like, that were legally bought,
mm-hmm.
But like other stuff, I just taped off of TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got to a point like in my mid 30s, I was like, Shawn, we can't keep all of this. Like you're just gonna have to throw it. It's like you're gonna have to throw a bunch of these tapes out.
Yeah.
Now, I wish I wouldn't have done that now because some of those things that are on those tapes are stuff that's not available on streaming, not available in physical media. And it's like, But I kept 2 bins. I had 2 bins of VHS tapes. And so what I'm looking forward to doing is upscaling those VHS tapes so I can play them in HD, but they'll still be in their proper format, but they'll be in HD. So like we might have bars on the side. It's okay. I still get that warmth. I still get to see that warmth. And there's something about that. Like I remember to this day, I think I still have the VHS tape. There was a recording of Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi on one tape. Okay. And because it was an 8-hour tape. And like I watched it so much that like there were parts of the VHS tape where like the tape, like, all these, you start seeing all these lines just go through the screen. And it's like Empire Strikes Back, Hoth battle scene. Luke is giving the commands to the crew, and you just see these like heavy white lines just go through and go down. And like I still to this day know it like clockwork every single time. Okay. Haven't watched that tape in probably 20 years.
Yep.
And still I know exactly when that happens. But that's the comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things I remember. That's the comfort. And that's the cool thing about VHS. Like there's some countries that still operate on VHS. There's some countries that still make video games for the Sega Master System, not the Genesis, the Master System. Okay. Brazil is about the Sega Master System. They continue to make games for that.
Good for you, Brazil.
Yeah. They're doing it right. They know what's up for sure.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I want to ask you, like, what's next? Is this the first installment of a larger series, or what you got cooking?
We'll see. We will see. Like, the book just came out, last month in October, toward the end of October. So we're going to see how it performs. One thing I am thankful for is that Steve Roth at Quarto has been very helpful with the marketing and reaching out to podcasts like yours, and which has been a tremendous help for me because it helps me spread the word of Kaiju Unleashed. And I think that's great. Like, they are heavily involved and they want the book to succeed. Like, I'm hoping that, I'm able to do like a Super Sentai book or an American Power Rangers book. If possible, or like Metal Heroes, used to be a show called VR Troopers in the United States, which was produced by Haim Saban, who originally produced Power Rangers. He basically took all the Metal Hero series and just mashed them together and made VR Troopers. It makes absolutely no sense at all, and I love every single waking minute of it. Like, seriously, it's just like Space Sheriff Gavin, Space Sheriff Sherivan, Space Sheriff Scheider. Oh, here's what's his face? I can't Kakai. I think it's not Kakaider, but anyway. But then you just mash all this together. I'm like, none of these things fit. None of these things fit at all. I'm like, we'll make it work. And
wow,
and it makes no sense, but I can't stop watching it.
I'll admit, I've never heard of this. I want to watch everything now. Is VR Troopers available anywhere?
Oh, no, it's not. See, here's okay. Like, here's what happened. Here's what happened. Okay. And I'll try to be brief. I apologize. Came out in the 90s. It was syndicated, and then it had 2 seasons. Because basically what happened was they ran out of footage for all they burned through 5 series worth of footage in 2 seasons. Mishmashing and Frankensteining all of this together, right? So they're like, well, the Toys are making money, but the ratings are really good, but like, we don't want to make original costumes because like they did, but we were still in the 90s, so like they didn't really know how to function with those types of costumes, and the American versions of those costumes looked awful. I mean, they were not good. So they're like, well, we'll just end it. So it was on VHS for a bit, and then you had like some best ofs on DVD. And then a few years ago, Shout Factory was like, okay, here's season 1, part 1. Here's season 1, part 2. And then they did season 2, part 1. But the sales for that weren't that great. So they did a limited set on season 2, part 2. Now, all of that is now discontinued. The name rights to VR Troopers lapsed. So it's just like, I'm sorry, I'm not paying $200 on eBay, for like one half volume of VR Troopers. Y'all can keep that. I'm sorry. I just keep my memories in my head. That's, might be able to find a couple episodes on YouTube. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but like, I love it.
All right, Camp Kaiju listeners, do your homework. Find VR Troopers.
You may regret it, but sorry. Oh boy.
I'm gonna have to do my homework as well. It sounds amazing. Can't wait to watch it.
No, but this has been great. Like I said, with Kaiju Unleashed out right now, like I'm about to head to a book festival on Saturday. With copies of Kaiju Unleashed, along with some other books that I've written. I wrote a biography about the Olympic snowboarder Shaun White. It's part of Who HQ's Who Is, Who Was, Who Are series, and that came out literally a few weeks before Kaiju Unleashed. And got a couple other things in the works. Like I have there's a high-low reader series called The Gamer. It's a superhero series, and it's literally Toku inspired. Like, it's Toku inspired stuff for kids. I'm legitimately writing Super Sentai for kids, and without people understanding that it's Super Sentai, and like I love it, and the kids like eat it up. I get to go talk with school kids about being creative and writing and how do we make books and stuff like that. And like, a lot of times they'll get copies of The Gamer and they're like, this superhero is cool. And like, it just brings a joy to my heart. That like, I get to write a toku and the kids love it, man. It just brings joy to my heart.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on all that. And Kaiju Unleashed.
I mean, so much I want to ask, but our hour is up. I know, like, I was gonna ask about your, like, I know you have background in comic books and graphic novels, so I was gonna ask about the overlap between that art form and kaiju movies. But, I mean, I'm eager to like explore your past work, and maybe that's a conversation for another time because I know we're kind of out of time here. But
Oh yeah, no problem. Hey, I'm always around. I always got 5 minutes on a Tuesday or Wednesday, so we good. So please, by all means, I would love to come back. I had a fantastic time. Vincent, Matt, you guys are awesome, and like this conversation really like lifted my spirits, man. So thank you both.
thank you.
Truly, the honor was ours. This it's just like it was fortuitous. Like Steve reached out, and I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Why not?" A fellow kaiju nerd and author too. Matt and I both write in our other lives here. So Shawn, thank you for everything.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, one last question actually for the book. Where is it available for purchase?
Oh, okay, cool. You can purchase it. You can go through bookshop.org. That way you can support independent bookstores, get it through them. If you don't want to do that, you can go to barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, booksamillion.com, wherever books are sold. Or if you don't have the money to get it, you want to go to your local library, see if they have any money in their budget to purchase books, and request Kaiju Unleashed. You can do that as well. It's a beautiful hardcover. I still look at this cover and I'm just like, how can you say no to this? How can you say no to this? It's a cover by Daz Tibbles. And so by artist Daz Tibbles, and it's so beautiful. And like the color usage is amazing. And like they even like painted out the outer rim of the pages. I didn't know they were going to do that. And so when I got those copies, I was just like, so yeah, it's great. But yeah, you can get the book anywhere books are sold, or go to any of those book websites. Like I'm big on bookshop.org because I like to support small businesses. And so the price is still the same no matter what. So any way you get it, I mean, I understand some of y'all might ride the pirate seas. I'm not gonna say nothing, but if you can purchase it, I would really appreciate it.
Totally. And it is a beautiful book. I just wanted to add that. Like, it's a gorgeous book. The imagery is amazing. Like, it evokes all those same feelings of monster love that you get from watching the movies. So it's a very beautiful book for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Shawn, we'll put the links to those sources you just mentioned in our show notes, and encourage all of our listeners to go check it out.
All right, it sounds good, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Would love to talk to y'all again. So please, anytime, just reach out. Hey, you
Thanks,
too.
Shawn.
Thank you.
Pleasure
You're welcome. Good to meet you.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode. We'll see you next time for Godzilla Minus One. Please rate and review wherever you listen. You can also share this podcast with a friend. Send us listener comments at campkaiju@gmail.com, our Facebook page, or on Instagram. Links are in the bio. If you'd like to be a featured voice on the show, please leave us a voicemail at 612-470-2612, telling us about your favorite monster movies and memories. Finally, please check out our website, campkaijupodcast.com, for more information. Camp Kaiju is recorded in Minneapolis, St. Paul, with Minya's Mailbox music by Ben Cook-Feltz. Thanks again, friends, and until next time, stay campy.
Countdown control. 4, 3, 2, 1. Virtual reality. Troopers 3.